Real estate agents and investors alike need to know why 100 appointments does not equal 100 deals. And they need to understand what we're going to talk about right now in order to create their pipeline and have the money coming in. Let's talk about real quick what an actual sales pipeline is. And this is so important. I get asked this all the time, and I get sent the wrong pieces all the time. So let's go over this. The very first piece is a potential lead, okay? What's a potential lead? Well, in real estate, you're looking on Zillow, you're on something, you know that Kyle buys co-living houses. You know that those houses need to be 1,800 square feet, et cetera, et cetera. You know my criteria. You look online, you see a house that's 1,800 square feet. Okay, have you talked to them? No. You just seen the house. Okay, now, is it for sale or not? Well, if it's not for sale, it might not even be a potential lead yet, right? It's like a prospect. You're like, well, everyone needs my product, so right? So everyone's a prospect, right? You're a prospect right now, regardless if I don't tell you what my product is, you could be a prospect because you're a human being and you could pay me money. So in real estate, a house is a prospect, okay? Now, let's find out if it's a potential lead. Well, are they willing to sell? Okay, if that house is on Zillow for sale, it's a potential lead. Well, now I need to find out and convert that from a potential lead to a lead. Okay, this is where people talk about list pulling, etc. Because if you pull a list, like we've had in More Onto Millionaire episodes, okay, you're going from a prospect, you're pulling a list, so now you know it's for sale, it's listed by an agent, all of that, you now have a potential lead. Do you have a lead yet? No, you don't. Now, you're going to call that person and find out, okay, confirm that they're willing to sell. In my case, it's creative financing. So you're asking, hey, are they open to doing something creative? Now, if they are, now they're a lead, right? And guess what we do with leads? Now they need to be qualified, okay? Now that lead, once it's a lead, that's when an appointment is set, right? Now, as one of the closers, as one of the people that have those conversations, that's where I can use my skill set to help somebody out, and I'll jump on the call and I will go through the details and I will help them understand the benefits, etc., and how and why we should work together. And if that goes well, right, then it's going to move over to, hey, now you have a deal. A deal is something under contract. So you're going to send out the contract and do that. So, and guess what? You still haven't made money yet until that deal closes. Okay, so at a minimum, and your pipeline might be longer or shorter, depending on if you're only working the acquisition or trying to acquire and get something under contract, or if you work over here on the disposition side, selling it to somebody else, etc. If you're the end buyer, you might not need the disposition, okay? But that's your overall pipeline. Everything just moves, and they call it a pipeline, right? Like water's flowing through this pipeline to come out the other side. In this pipeline, like if water was flowing through it, right? There can be leaks, right? There could be bottlenecks, and the flow is restricted. And that could happen actually anywhere along this, okay? And every single person needs to self-reflect if they're part of this piece or as a team, etc. Be like, where are our bottlenecks, okay? Now, specifically, if we talk about appointment setting, what are the bottlenecks? Well, let's assume then that there are no other previous bottlenecks, okay? Because some people get that confused. Hey, I don't, in real estate, for example, but it could be anything. I'm supposed to set up appointments for the person to jump on the phone and have a conversation about our product, right? Whether it be real estate. Well, I clearly have a bottleneck. Like, what is it? And you might be thinking it's appointments because you're thinking, let's run the KPIs, the key performance indicators. If I have more appointments, then I can get more deals and I can make more money and we can sell more products. Well, if you don't have enough water coming in through another bottleneck and having another bottleneck, that could be your problem. Okay? It could be and sometimes we only focus on the now when we're comparing numbers and be like, yeah, hey, you only set up one appointment this whole week. you need 5. We instantly think that the appointment setting, oh, maybe it's how you're asking for the appointment. All of that could be the bottleneck. But in all reality, it's, well, how many people are you even able to have that conversation with? Right, so now here's the appointments being set, right? That's actually when you get a lead we talked about. But what was before a lead? A potential lead. Are you getting enough potential leads? Are you communicating? Maybe you have them in your pocket, but you're not making the phone calls to actually convert a potential lead to an appointment. If you're a newbie, a lot of the time they have what's called one-itis, right? We've shared this before, one-itis. They work through this. There's one house at some point in this stage, or one customer at some point in this stage, and they are so zoomed into them and they can see how much money they might make from it, and they lose track of everything else. The solution is, you don't want one-itis, you need volume. And you need a lot of water flowing through. Okay, so what are the 2 biggest things I see is usually volume at any one of these is almost always part of the problem. People, if they're brand new, they can't even find these, prospects, right? Someone starts a new sales position and they're supposed to sell, I don't care, memberships to the theater, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, everyone goes to the theater, So it's like, oh, who's your prospects? I mean, right? But but it's action. So the part I want to make clear here is there's data and information. So that is one thing. If you don't have a list of prospects to even start, okay? Now some of them can be as simple as it's everyone. So get over that problem very, very fast. You don't even have a problem. But in real estate, not every house is a prospect, okay? So you do need data and information. That's number 1. The second thing you were talking about is just action. That is almost always and it's a shame I said it as number 2, because in all reality, it's probably the biggest of the 2, but it's lack of action. It's either you're not taking action on the prospects, you're not taking action calling to qualify people, you're not. There's bottlenecks we talked about, which is constricting, and then there's leaks, okay, which are different. Right? They can be somewhat the same, but bottlenecks are, you already have it all lined up, but you're not doing something right? It's constricting it, right? You haven't gotten enough information, or you're not taking enough action. That would be your bottlenecks. Your leaks are, you already know how it's doing, but it's popping a leak, and so things are falling through the cracks. So, and specifically, if we're talking, hey, here's the appointments that are coming in for real estate. Let's use real estate as an example. And okay, I've had 10 appointments this week. How come? Well, what's the ratio of how many of those 10 are being actually closed and making money? Or okay, that's fine. Let's stop with just contracted. So there's appointments to getting them under contract, because that's the whole purpose of that appointment. Okay, well, where are they being lost? That's what you want to ask yourself for these leaks. And every pipeline has them, okay? And so the way you patch leaks is you have to ask yourself, where is your pipeline actually messed up? Okay, where is there a pinhole? Water's escaping. You actually have to go and do a patch. Sometimes you get enough pinholes, you're cutting the pipe, putting a new one in, right? So in this example, sometimes it could be the closer, okay? If someone thinks they're a closer, but they don't have that much experience, they're not that great at sales, it could be, hey, we've put this pipe in there and this person's in the wrong seat. Let's take that out. That can happen. You're just not the right fit for the job. The other thing though that comes in would be those SOPs, those operations. For example, we've increased our show rates for our appointments with specific appointment times. There was a point in the past when it was, hey, someone would call, try to set an appointment. They're like, oh, wonderful, yes, I'd love to talk. And they would say, yeah, anytime today is fine. Or it would say, okay, hey, how about 1 to 3? Like we'd do ranges, and they would say, yeah, that's fine. Okay, oh no, I'll be free, right? And they wanted to talk, but it wasn't a specific appointment. The commitment isn't as strong. So the actual operation of how to do that needs to get better. So we replace that with, okay, wonderful. At 11 o'clock, Kyle has time. Can you talk at 11 o'clock? if there's any hesitation, guess what else we've done? We don't just take their word for it. It's, oh, if you hear any hesitation, say, okay, great. Hey, if you can't make it at 11, will you please let me know if something comes up? In fact, if you want to take it even further, you can say, and if, and how would you let me know if something comes up? You know that they might text you, but let them tell you that they'll text you, right? You could also build up your closer on a pedestal and you start talking to them, say, hey, so if I book it at 11, I just want to make sure, because there's always multiple people that want to talk at the same time. So obviously we never want appointments to fall through. So if you're good for 11, or is there a better time for you? You're giving them an out to go pick a better time. People are people pleasers. And sometimes they'll just say yes, right? In fact, it's a lot of times. I was just talking to my wife this morning. I've been in sales forever, and I did a lot of in-house appointments. Well, guess what? People have animals. They have dogs. I'm using it for example. And we used to have dogs, and we'll probably get more dogs in the future. Well, what's the actual protocol here? That like, you come to the door and knock on it, but my dog's barking and everything. I'm like, okay. And did I invite you? Did I not? I need to make you feel comfortable in my house. What's the protocol? Should I be like, hey, 1 second, and go put my dog in the kennel, right? Hey, this is my house. I'm in whatever my dog wants to do, my dog can do. I don't care if my dog's barking at you, possibly nipping at your heels. Like, okay. And lots of people are gonna have different opinions on this, right? But that's the protocol. What should be happening through there? How do I want someone to feel, and what experience I want them to have, right? So very, very interesting. And when I did this, there's times where the reason I brought this up is because there's a very statement. My dog's barking, or I open the door and I'm in the way, blocking the dog behind me, and I go, are you good with, do you like dogs? Right? Are you okay with dogs? Whether you're okay with dogs or not, you're probably gonna say yes. One, especially if you're trying to sell me something. Okay, but two, you might just be a friend, you don't want to offend me or whatever. Oh no, that's fine. But yet the dog comes in, it's jumping all over you, whatever. Especially if it starts to nibble at your heels and you're annoyed. And you're like, this sucks. But yet you told them you were fine. You need to have that communication tight, so you need to make sure you're asking the right questions. If you just say, hey, is 11 o'clock good? And like, yeah, that's fine. They might just be saying it to say it. So that confirmation to make sure you increase the show rate. Here's the important part. You need to know what your close rate should be, or have a goal of where your closing rate should be, because you get what you track. Going back to the KPIs, right? A closer should know, okay, every so many appointments, I should get a contract. And every so many contracts, how many of those actually close? So they need to know their own numbers. Then they need to be aware of what industry-wide, what those numbers are, and be real straightforward with yourself. Where do I stand? Am I at the average? Am I lower? Am I higher? It's opportunity, right? Because no matter where you are, you need to know that, and that should empower you. If you're higher than normal, use that to empower yourself and build your confidence even higher. If you're average, but oh, hey, look how far I've worked and came, and now I'm the average closer. I want to be a great closer. How can I get better? What can I do? If you're down here, just because you're a little bit lower doesn't mean you can't be a closer. It's a skill set. And that could be in real estate or any industry, but understanding of where you need to be, and ask yourself, is this the role I want to be in? If the answer is yes, you want to be in that role, boom, do what you got to do to move up. If you're way below and you're like, oh, hey, maybe I just decided to be a closer because I thought it sounded cool, because it gave me, it looks good to other people. Who doesn't want to be a closer? And the guy that's doing the business, right? But that might not be a good match for you and your personality. Some of these leakages, right? These leaks that you get from when you get something under contract to when it closes can be a couple things. Now remember, just because something falls through doesn't mean it's a leak. If your expectation is that everything that goes under contract closes, you're wrong. There are normal things that happen. People's minds change about all sorts of things. Now, depending on the type of deal, you might be able to still force it to go through, right? But all sorts of things pop up in regards to like a house. You could have damage, a fire, something like that happens, and then there's all sorts of stuff that has to happen before a closing. Sometimes there could be fraud. Once you go under contract, you hire a title company or closing attorney, and they pull the record on the house to see what liens are against this house or what money is owed that has to be paid off or issues dealt with before someone else can actually own it. You could have some of those sometimes are not known, not just by the potential buyer, but even by the seller. So all sorts of stuff can come up. So one super important aspect to know about this topic is don't try to learn everything beforehand, okay, about a deal, about everything. For example, people, when they're doing other parts of the job, they're like, you know what, let me pull up the house, let me look at every little picture of this house before I even make a phone call. It's like you're completely wasting time. That's not the most important thing. Call the person and start talking to them, right? There's plenty of times of phone calls I have that I've never even seen the house. I sometimes forget where they are, right, in the country, okay? Versus in this case, it's, oh, okay, just if the math makes sense and you feel like, hey, I think this might be a good deal, and you've been straightforward and honest with everything, put it under contract, right? And you've been very straightforward with them. If there's anything that still might, like for example, the condition is possibly still a thing, well, if you tell them, hey, love everything else, I'm worried about the condition, that's why we have an inspection period, I will want to get somebody in there to walk it to verify that. You want to know what the real solution is for all these leaks in people's pipelines? It's getting around somebody else that has a better pipeline than you. Why? Because there's a leak in your pipeline, you're not an expert on how to fix that leak. You need to go find out what the possibility of solutions are, what could look different, and how to implement it. Those are way more important. In the small cases that you actually know what to fix it, you might not know how to fix it. So the ultimate solution for all of these leaks is to go be around someone else that is setting appointments, go be around a closer that's having that conversation and putting it under contract, and then go be around someone else that's helping that go all the way to the closing table.